When Lily moved to the city, she didn't expect to be lonely. But after months of working late shifts and spending weekends curled up with Netflix, she found herself craving more. She wanted to meet people, make friends, maybe even find someone special. Her friend Jessica suggested Tinder. It's perfect for meeting people in the city. You can go out, grab a drink, and if it doesn't work out, at least you get a story out of it. Lily wasn't convinced. She had heard horror stories about the app, about people being creeped out or ghosted. But after a few glasses of wine one Friday night, she finally downloaded the app, half-heartedly swiping through a sea of faces. She wasn't looking for anything serious, just someone to talk to. But then she came across Aaron's profile. His pictures were candid, him laughing with friends, hiking in the mountains, sitting in a cozy cafe. His bio simply said, looking for real connections, no games, no lies, just honesty. Something about his sincerity drew her in. She swiped right, expecting nothing more than a generic, "Hey, how's it going?" message. Instead, it took less than 5 minutes for him to reply. "Hey Lily, I think we might have a lot in common. What do you like to do in the city?" They chatted easily. Aaron was interesting, attentive, and funny. He asked questions about her hobbies, her favorite spots in the city, and what she was looking for in a relationship. Lily was surprised by how quickly the conversation flowed. By the end of the night, they had already agreed to meet up for coffee at a local cafe. The next day, Lily was nervous but also excited. She had been on a few dates before, but none had felt this natural. When she met Aaron, he was even better in person. Tall, with messy dark hair, a warm smile, and those deep blue eyes that seemed to see right through her. He was charming, but in a quiet way. Their conversation was easy, like they had been talking for years, not just hours. They spent the afternoon walking around the city, talking about their favorite books, travel experiences, and life goals. Lily felt a connection, a spark that she hadn't felt in a long time. After that first meeting, they saw each other almost every day. They went to parks, visited museums, and even attended a concert together. Each time they met, things felt more and more like they were meant to be. It was the kind of relationship that was easy to get lost in. But one evening, after a particularly lovely dinner, Lily came home to an unsettling feeling. She had left her phone at the cafe by mistake, so when she picked it up, she noticed several missed messages from Aaron. It was late, nearly midnight. The texts were harmless at first, asking if she had gotten home safely, and then joking about how he was looking forward to seeing her the next day. But then, the messages took a different tone. "Can't sleep without hearing your voice. Are you still awake? I miss you." Lily thought it was a little strange, but it wasn't too out of the ordinary. Aaron had been sweet and attentive, maybe just a little too clingy. She texted back, telling him she had just gotten in, and that she was going to bed soon. But the text didn't stop. They kept coming, one after another. "Are you alone? Alone? I know you're awake. I can feel it. I'm outside your window." Lily's heart stopped. She pulled the curtains aside, scanning the street below. Nothing. Just the usual quiet street with a few cars parked along the curb. But the sense of dread that washed over her was undeniable. She quickly locked all her windows and doors. "Just kidding, Lily. I'm not outside your window," the next message read. "But I do know when you're alone. I always know." Her phone buzzed again. "This game we're playing is so much fun. I'm glad you're playing too." Lily's hands were shaking as she stared at the screen. Her fingers hovered over the block button, but part of her hesitated. Could he really be outside her window? Was this just a joke? She glanced back out the window again, but there was no one in sight. She decided to call him. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. When Aaron picked up, his voice sounded calm and warm, just like it always had. "Hey Lily, everything okay? Why are you texting me like that?" she demanded. "What do you mean you know when I'm alone?" "I'm really starting to get creeped out." There was silence on the other end. Then Aaron's voice came through, softer now. "Lily, I'm sorry if I scared you. I really like you. I want to be close to you." Lily sighed in relief, thinking it was just an overreaction. Maybe he was just trying to be romantic in a weird way. "Look, I like you too, Aaron," she said, trying to calm her nerves. "But you have to stop with these messages. It's too much." There was another pause before Aaron responded, his voice now sounding strangely distant. "I just want you to know I've always been here." The line went dead. Lily stared at her phone, confused. She checked her caller ID. No call had come through. Her heart began to race. She checked the window again, but this time something caught her eye. There, in the reflection of the glass, she saw a figure standing in her living room doorway. Her breath caught in her throat. She spun around, but there was nothing. No one was in the room. The apartment was empty. Her phone buzzed again. This time there was no message, only a photo. It was a picture of her, taken from the corner of her living room, from a place where no one could have been standing. The angle was wrong. It was as though someone had been watching her without her knowing. The photo was time-stamped 2 minutes ago. She checked her front door, which was still locked. She checked the security camera, but there was no footage, just a blank screen. A chill ran down her spine as she realized the truth. Aaron had never been outside her window, but somehow he was inside her apartment, watching her. Samantha hated dating apps. They felt shallow and fake, but her best friend Megan was relentless. "Just try it," Megan had insisted. "You're not going to meet anyone sitting at home watching crime documentaries." Reluctantly, Samantha downloaded Tinder. After a few days of half-hearted swiping, she stumbled across his profile. His name was Lucas, and he was stunning, sharp jawline, kind eyes, and a smile that felt genuine. His bio read, "Not here for hookups. Just looking for someone to share the little things in life with." Samantha stared at his photos for a moment before swiping right. To her surprise, it was an instant match. Lucas messaged her right away. "Hi Samantha, something told me you'd swipe right." His message was simple, but something about it made her stomach flip. They started chatting, and Samantha was quickly drawn in. Lucas wasn't like the other guys she'd talked to. He was polite, intelligent, and genuinely interested in her. By the end of the week, Samantha felt like she'd found someone special. Lucas suggested they meet for coffee. He chose a quaint cafe on the outskirts of town, the kind of place Samantha wouldn't have noticed on her own. When she arrived, Lucas was already there, waiting at a corner table. He looked just like his photos, but better, more real. His smile put her at ease immediately. The date was perfect. They talked for hours, laughing and sharing stories. Lucas was attentive, never checking his phone or looking away. By the end of the night, Samantha felt a connection she hadn't felt in years. As they said goodbye, Lucas reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'll see you soon," he said softly. Samantha floated home, replaying the night in her mind. It was only when she got into bed that something strange struck her. She couldn't remember giving Lucas her phone number, but he'd texted her shortly after the date. "Sweet dreams, Samantha. I had a great time." The following week, they met again. This time, Lucas suggested a hike in the woods. Samantha wasn't much of an outdoors person, but Lucas made her feel safe. The trail was quiet, almost eerily so, but Lucas seemed to know exactly where they were going. "This place is special," he said, leading her to a clearing with a breathtaking view of the valley below. "It's beautiful," Samantha said, her voice soft. Lucas turned to her, his expression serious. "So are you." Her cheeks flushed, but before she could respond, a sudden chill ran through her. She glanced around the clearing, feeling as though they were being watched. "Do you feel that?" she asked, her voice wavering. Lucas smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Feel what?" The moment passed, but the unease lingered. After that day, Lucas became more intense. He texted constantly, often at odd hours, asking where she was or what she was doing. If she didn't reply immediately, he'd send follow-ups. "Are you okay? Why aren't you answering?" Samantha started to feel suffocated. One night, after ignoring his texts for a few hours, her phone buzzed. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a photo. The image was of her, sitting in her living room, taken through the window. Her heart stopped. She looked around, every shadow suddenly menacing. She locked all the doors and windows, her hands shaking. Another message came through. "Don't be scared. I just want to make sure you're safe." Samantha didn't sleep that night. She didn't call the police either, unsure of how to explain what was happening. Lucas hadn't technically done anything illegal, and part of her still wanted to believe this was all a misunderstanding. But things only got worse. The next morning, Samantha decided to block him. She opened Tinder to unmatch, but Lucas's profile was gone. Confused, she searched her messages. All traces of their conversations had vanished, as though he'd never existed. Relieved but unsettled, she deleted the app. That night, her phone buzzed again. This time it was an unknown number. The message simply read, "Why did you block me?" Samantha's blood ran cold. She didn't reply, but the messages kept coming. "You can't just get rid of me. We were meant to be together. I'm outside." Bang. Her heart pounded as she crept to the window. Pulling back the curtain slightly, she saw nothing but the empty street. Then the power went out. The darkness was suffocating. Samantha fumbled for her phone, its weak light barely illuminating the room. She dialed 911, her voice shaking as she explained that someone was outside her house. The operator assured her that help was on the way, but the line suddenly went dead. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. "You should have let me in." A loud bang came from the front door. Samantha screamed, backing away as the pounding grew louder. "Leave me alone," she yelled, clutching her phone like a lifeline. The pounding stopped. For a moment there was silence. Then from behind her, a voice whispered, "I was never outside." Samantha spun around, but it was too late. When the police arrived, the house was empty. Samantha was gone, with no signs of a struggle. Her phone was found on the floor, still unlocked. The last message on the screen read, "Match deleted." It all began with a swipe. Anna had been single for almost 2 years, and her friends had been urging her to get back out there. Reluctantly, she finally downloaded Tinder. At first, it felt like a way to pass the time browsing through profiles, laughing at cheesy bios, and swiping left on anyone who gave off a weird vibe. But then she came across him. His name was Michael. With a ruggedly handsome face, a bit of scruff that gave him an effortlessly cool look, piercing green eyes, and a smile that seemed both inviting and genuine, he stood out. His bio was refreshingly simple, looking for someone to share late-night horror movies and pancakes with. It was quirky, yet not too much, perfectly specific in an intriguing way. Anna couldn't resist, she swiped right. Within moments, it was a match. Michael messaged her immediately, his opener refreshingly normal. "So horror movies or pancakes first?" Their conversation flowed naturally, like old friends reconnecting. He was charming, funny, and shared her love for the macabre. They spent the next week chatting late into the night, exchanging favorite scary movies and debating whether ghosts or demons were scarier. By the end of the week, she felt like she'd known him forever. When Michael suggested they meet for dinner, Anna hesitated. Meeting someone from a dating app felt risky, but his warmth and wit had disarmed her. Against her better judgment, she agreed. They chose a quiet bistro downtown. Anna arrived first, nervously checking her reflection in her phone camera. When Michael walked in, she immediately recognized him. He was even better looking in person, his smile magnetic. Dinner was perfect. They laughed, shared stories, and lingered over dessert. Michael was attentive and engaging, making her feel like she was the only person in the room. By the time they said goodnight, Anna was floating. Over the next few weeks, they became inseparable. Michael was everything she wanted, thoughtful, funny, and always full of surprises. He planned spontaneous dates, sent her good morning texts, and even remembered little things she mentioned in passing. It felt like a dream. But then, small things began to bother her. Michael never talked about his past. Anytime she asked about his family or childhood, he'd skillfully deflect, turning the focus back to her. He also never invited her to his place, claiming it was too messy. And though he was attentive, there were moments when he seemed distant. One night, they were watching a horror movie at her apartment when she noticed him staring at her. Not in an adoring way, but as if he was studying her. His green eyes seemed darker, almost hollow. "Is everything okay?" she asked, trying to laugh off her unease. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You remind me of someone," he said softly. "Who?" Michael hesitated. "Just someone I used to know." The room felt colder after that. A few nights later, Anna woke up to a strange sound. Her phone buzzed on her nightstand, a notification from Tinder. Confused, she unlocked it. "You have a new match." Her stomach twisted. She hadn't used the app since meeting Michael. Out of curiosity, she opened it. The new match was Michael. At first, she thought it was a glitch, but as she scrolled through his profile, her unease grew. It was the same Michael, same photos, same bio, but with one chilling difference. His bio now read, "Looking for someone to join me forever." Anna's blood ran cold. Was this some kind of joke? She quickly texted him, "Why are you back on Tinder?" The reply came instantly, "I'm not. That's not me." Her phone buzzed again. Another Tinder notification, a message from Michael's profile. "I see you." Heart pounding, Anna deleted the app and tried to call him, but her phone wouldn't connect. The screen flickered, the brightness dimming on its own. The shadows in her room seemed to lengthen, creeping toward her. A knock at the door startled her. She jumped out of bed, her heart racing. "Anna? It's me," Michael's voice called. Relief flooded her. She rushed to the door, ready to confront him, but paused. Something felt wrong. "Why are you here?" she asked through the door. "I was worried about you," he said, his tone soothing. "Prove it's you," she demanded, her voice trembling. There was silence, then a low chuckle. It wasn't Michael's usual laugh. It was deeper, darker. "You already let me in, Anna," the voice said. Her heart stopped. She turned around and froze. Michael, or something that looked like him, was standing in her living room. His green eyes were gone, replaced by empty black voids. His smile was wider than humanly possible, stretching unnaturally across his face. "You swiped right," it whispered, taking a step toward her. Anna screamed, backing against the door. She fumbled for the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The thing that looked like Michael tilted its head, studying her with grotesque curiosity. "You shouldn't have matched with me," it hissed, its voice echoing unnaturally. "I've been waiting for someone like you." The shadows in the room writhed, reaching for her like living tendrils. The air grew heavy, making it hard to breathe. Anna clawed at the door, desperate to escape, but the darkness consumed her. When her neighbors reported her missing days later, the police found no signs of a struggle. Her apartment was immaculate, as if she had never been there. The only oddity was her phone, lying on the coffee table with Tinder open. Michael's profile remained on her screen, but now his bio had changed, looking for someone new.